Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern, Ned Reynolds, back in the studio on a Monday morning. Ned's happy. It's going to be in the high 80s today. I haven't seen a smile on his face like this for months. So, I also wanted to ask, did you take a chance on that horse over the weekend? I mean, if you did, if you took a chance on a horse no one thought was going to win, you'd have a lot of money waking up today.
I'd like to know if anybody did. Of course, the track isn't allowed to tell the names. They can say whether or not there were any winners, but they're not allowed to give the names. But they haven't even said that. Churchill Downs didn't say whether or not there were any winners involved at all. I would suspect the owner probably put a bet, maybe a small bet.
Of course.
But anybody else, who knows? Big payday, 80-1. This is so incredibly bizarre. On the date that the Kentucky Derby returns to normal, they had over 150,000 fans there, and here's an 80-1 shot, and a horse that wasn't even in the Derby until 24 hours before because one of the horses was scratched. Gets the number 21 position. There are 20 horses involved, but this one wore number 21 because he's a late entry. This is just an incredible story. It's one that you read about in storybooks, but it did happen, and it happened before the eyes of millions and millions and millions of viewers around the world watching the Kentucky Derby. Rich Strike. For heaven's sake, 80-1. Now, suppose, Mike, you would put a $2 bet on that. $2 bet on
$160.
$164 is what it would.
$100 bet. You're walking out with what? $8 grand? $8 grand?
I love the superfecta and the trifecta and all of that was involved. The exacta paid $4,100. The trifecta, $14,870, and the superfecta, oh my God, $321,000. If you were smart enough to be able to do that, and I'm sure nobody was, but hey, it was just an incredible story. It's one that makes the sports world what it is.
When's the movie coming out? That's my question.
You hear about Seabiscuit and all of these great horses, War Admiral and all that. Here's Rich Strike that nobody's ever heard of before. He wins a Derby.
It's crazy. It'll Hollywood up to the jockey's probably just passed out drunk in the stable, and they wake him up. Hey man, you're racing today, and he goes out there and wins the whole thing.
Not in this case, because the jockey is Sonny Leon, he's Venezuelan, but he's lived in this country for a number of years. This was his first Derby, so I think he was probably very excited about that. Now he's not a rookie. He's leading jockey, I should say, at a racetrack in Ohio, Mahoning Valley. But this was his first Derby entry, and it's by chance. He really shouldn't have been in there. It's because another horse was scratched. Just a story that doesn't happen. Storybook stuff. But it did, and we saw it Saturday, 48 hours ago. Pretty good.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, I can't wait to watch the movie, like I said. All right, let's talk college basketball. Some of these teams that had a nice start, sometimes halfway through the season or towards the end, start going in the opposite direction. What's the story?
Yeah, it is. The baseball scene has been rather unusual in this case. The Bears, Missouri State Bears, are trending downward, and the Drury University Panthers are trending upward. Now, Drury has finished its regular season. They did so by taking 3 out of 4 from William Jewell, but their final game yesterday, was a 19-2 loss. Wait a minute, that shouldn't have happened, although William Jewell has won 30 games this year. But the Drury Panthers will be one of the top teams, if not the top, going into the Great Lakes Valley Tournament, which begins later this week up in St. Charles, Missouri. The Bears, you would have thought, and everybody did, including this reporter, their momentum is back. Beat Arkansas, a nationally ranked team, lose 3 straight to Southern Illinois. Jiminy Christmas. The bats just went silent, went over and watched 2 of the games, and the Bears just simply could not get anything going. Who knows? It is baseball. It's a most unusual sport. Bears will play a non-conference game tomorrow night against Southeast Missouri down in Cape. Then come back for another home series against Illinois State, have one on the road, and then the conference tournament, which is here. And that may be Missouri State's saving grace if they can regenerate some momentum. But right now, they're not playing very well.
Sad to see it because, man, they've had some incredible seasons in these last few years. But like you said, Things change. All right, so the PGA National kicks off this weekend, but before that, they had a little bit of a prelude.
They did.
This past weekend. Who got the dub?
This is the Wells Fargo Championship that they have. It used to be at Congressional in Washington, D.C. It's now at TPC Avenel in Maryland. And Max Homa, who is a former NCAA individual national champion back about 2013 or 14 from University of California, gets the win in this one, wins it by 2 strokes. That is great impetus for him going into the PGA National, which is at Southern Hills in Tulsa. And it tees off on Thursday. Now, the pros will be there to practice Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at Southern Hills. Southern Hills is still, while it is not the Augusta National, it still is a rolling type course. And it looks as though the weather's going to be nice and warm down there. Tiger Woods is probably going to play in this competition. He was there for a practice round last week, and this is not Augusta National. But again, it is a test for Tiger, who is still recovering. But nonetheless, he'll be in there. The crowds will be huge, and it's another major coming back to the Midwest in Oklahoma.
So Cardinals, Royals both had action this weekend. How'd they look?
The Cardinals split their 4-game series with San Francisco, won the first 2, lose the final 2. The Saturday game was 13-8. And yesterday was a tough one, 4-3, because the Cardinals had several chances, including in the 9th inning with the tying run on second base, but couldn't get that run across, so the Giants win that one 4-3. Cardinals take today off and then host the Baltimore Orioles in St. Louis coming up on Tuesday. Baltimore Orioles are playing the Kansas City Royals and were to have played them in a 3-game series that was postponed or delayed because of rain. They had a lot of rain on the East Coast. Well, anyway, they played a doubleheader yesterday, and the Royals and the Orioles split. Royals won the first one 6-4. Orioles won the second game 4-2. They will play again late this morning, and that completes that series. This is Kansas City's only time into Baltimore this year. So the Royals will then go on the road to Texas to play. So kind of a mediocre weekend for the Missouri teams. And the Springfield Cardinals, well, we'll talk about them in just a split second. The Cardinals were playing the Northwest Arkansas Naturals this weekend and didn't have very good success. Lost to the Naturals yesterday by a score of 9-5, and while they won the first game of the 6-game series, that was it for Springfield. They were unable. They're 11-16 now on the year. They're a better team than this, but then again, it's baseball and the variables happen.
And one of the things, they still have this for the Texas League, where it's half season record, second half season record.
It works a little bit differently this year because of the 6-game series that they have, and because the season's been divided. It's 138 games this year, but they do have halves, and the half will be at 69.
So we'll see what happens later on in the season. We get out to Hammons Field and check those guys out this year for sure. So I had high hopes. The St. Louis Blues series against Minnesota, they came out, got game 1, looked good. Game 2, not so good. Game 3, not so good.
Really not so good.
Game 4, though, it looks like they finally found their mojo.
No, they had to win. Had to win. You could not go back to Minneapolis trailing 3-1. So the Blues did come back, seize the lead from the Minnesota Wild about, halfway through the game, and then won it 5-2. So that series is now tied at 2 games apiece, and they'll continue tomorrow night in Minneapolis. It now goes Minneapolis, St. Louis, and back to Minneapolis again if necessary. Minnesota gets what's allegedly called the home ice advantage. I don't think it really exists, but be that as it may, they will get the odd game in that series.
Well, hopefully they can get the win and continue on in their march to the Cup. All right, speaking of marching, NBA playoffs is going pretty good. Who's getting the wins there?
Both of the games yesterday have ended with the series now tied at 2 games apiece. Dallas Mavericks defeated the Phoenix Suns 111-101, and that series is now tied at 2 games apiece. The Suns are the really very strong favorite to win the whole NBA championship, but they have been taken to the wire here by a number of these teams. Keep in mind, this is pro basketball. These are all outstanding stars. And the Philadelphia 76ers have tied their series with the Miami Heat. Won last night, 116-108. That series is 2 games apiece. Go back to Miami now for Game 5. That's coming up later on this week. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Anything has happened in the NBA playoffs. Ned, you have a wonderful Monday. I'll see you tomorrow, sir.